City when I was out there for college, where I was in touch with the Papa Roach guys, and they're like, "Yeah, come back. We'll get you tickets. We'll get you VIP passes. Come back on stage and hang out and drink." So I get there early, and then some guy from the radio station that ran into me, and he's just like, "Are you guys the contest winners?" And I was like, "I don't know. I had this email from the Papa Roach people. He's just like, give me a second." So he gives us, he's like, "Oh, so you'll do this, this, and this, and then you'll come back and you'll meet all 6 bands, and they'll sign the guitars for you." And I was like,
"Oh."
I'm like, I looked at him, and he looks at me, I go, "I'm not that dude." I go, "I really appreciate a guitar."
I want to be.
Bands. Yeah. It was like Marilyn Manson, Papa Roach, all these bands. I forget who else. And I'm like, "No, I just contacted the Papa Roach guys. And they sent me this email, so I'm here." It's like, "Oh, go wait over there." It's like, "Their bus isn't here. They're late." It's like, "Oh, okay."
So close.
Ozzy still does a bunch of meet and greets and stuff like that. Sharon makes him do it.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Just happy he's sober.
And then we had Ozfest because he was on that, so we'd have to do Ozfest.
Ozfest was so fun back when it was.
Then we had a bunch of bands on Ozfest, including Mudvayne and I think Chevelle did Ozfest. I had all these weird bands. You probably remember if I went through and thought of some of the what we call work bands. They just kind of sucked. One of them was called Revis, R-E-V.
I remember the name. I don't remember the music.
They had kind of a hit. Revis was one. Phantom Planet.
Oh.
Phantom Planet was the actor dude. Yeah.
Yeah,
Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah.
He was in Phantom Planet. He was
playing drums.
He was like a band when I was on Epic. They're like, "This is our band, Phantom Planet. You gotta take them around." I took them all through New Orleans one night. Me and Jason Schwartzman and Phantom Planet just running. They didn't. Nobody knew who they were. They played like shows with like 18 people. You know.
What was that band like? Teenage 90210 that was on Fox.
Oh yeah, I know what you're thinking.
Their song was always on that.
Oh. Yeah.
My girlfriend used to make me watch in high school.
We did play California all the time. I also had another infamous Epic band that I broke and helped break, and somehow we got airplay with it. Well, I know how we got airplay. They were called Flicker Stick.
That was a band that was on TV.
I think they were. Flicker Stick. I was going through my stuff. I found one of their old drumsticks. It said, 2KC, Flicker Stick. I'm like, oh my God, Flicker Stick. Imagine going to your radio guys going, "Hey, I got a new band called Flicker Stick. You got to play them." No, Dolphins, you're going to get a lot of hits in that. You're going to get a lot of hits with the Dolphins probably, Chris. Don't hate on that. We just had a 101 Dolphin.
They won VH1's Bands on the Run.
Yeah.
That's how I knew.
And then they got signed to freaking Epic.
Yep, the band was signed by Epic Records in November of 2001.
Yeah. And I started with Epic in 2001. And they were one of my first bands. I took them through New Orleans as well. Along with Tenacious D at the time. Yeah, the OC was the show.
There we go, yes.
That was their theme song for Phantom Planet.
Yes, OC.
I mean, those were the days.
Oh, a terrible show.
I wish, to God, I wish so bad that we had cell phones back then like we do now. Because then I could have recorded all that stuff. Just hanging out with them and on the buses and just everywhere, anything that I did. And I have them stupid little portable yellow cameras.
I think it's just fun when
From
my
Walgreens.
friend's band comes around town and play Milwaukee and Chicago with bands like Hell Yeah and Power Man, Saliva.
Yeah.
He tours with a bunch of bands and then he invites us to come out and drink and eat with them. And you're like, I listened to your music when I was in junior high and high school.
I know.
It's weird.
I know.
But they're cool guys. Band guys for the most part are just normal.
You know what's weird to think about some of these bands? How long they've been doing it. Like you see these bands that when you were in high school that you run through now. They're like, "Yeah, let's go out to dinner." They just hang at the bar and you're like, you guys have been doing this, still doing it for 15 years? 20 years?
Yep.
Whew. Crazy.
I feel that way about Seven Dust. Like every time I hear new Seven Dust music on XM, it's like kind of the same, and I still kind of like it. I'm like, this band's been doing it for a really long time. Seven Dust,
Yep.
Point, all those like hard rock bands that are still making music. I'll tell you, those guys in Alien Ant Farm sound phenomenal when they were the last. Like,
They did?
They easily sounded the best, without question.
Some bands definitely sound better than others live. Like Third Eye Blind is a bad one. I told you that. They're the worst ever.
The first time I went and saw Blink-182 when I was in junior high or high school, I just remember being like, oh my god, it sounds nothing like the album. How was Jack Black? Good dude?
Jack Black was really cool. That was, again, one of the first jobs I had. I lived in Houston. They had shows in New Orleans. So New Orleans was a couple hour drive from Houston. But the funny story about Jack Black and Tenacious D was I had to meet him at the hotel, and he was in one of the big, dope, fancy hotels in New Orleans. And I was driving, and I parked. And I had to go up to his room to meet him. I probably told this story, but Jack Black was out all night, and he had to call radio. He would do phoners. So he would call and say, hey, you're listening to the WBCN, make all them drops and do interviews. And his manager answered the door, and he said, Jack's not ready. And I'm like, okay, well, listen, dude. This is what I literally told him. I said, man, I'm brand new here. This is like my first gig with Epic. And I got all these radio guys waiting for him to call. Like, you got to help me out here. You got to get him ready, and I got to do this. He goes, all right, come back in like 15, 20 minutes. So I go back in 15, 20 minutes. Dude's like, Jack's not ready. Come back. And I'm like, all right, I'll come back.
Yeah, trade, by the way.
So, trade. I come back, and Jack comes out. I'll never forget, he comes out in a big white robe from the hotel with a big back. His hair sticking out like this, all over the place. He's like, hey, what's up, dude? And I gave him the list. He said, just give me the list. I've done this a million times. He went into the bathroom and called all the radio stations, sat on the toilet, or whatever he did in there. I just remember hearing the echo from the bathroom and him talking to radio. He came back in like 40 minutes or so. He goes, here you go, dude. All done. I was like, cool, thanks. See you later. I did a show that night at House of Blues. And we had a big dinner together with Tenacious D and a bunch of winners and stuff. And that morning when I left, I backed into the gate at the hotel and crushed it, and crushed the rental car. That's how I remember that show. I had to weasel my way out of it with the hotel. Who we trading?
I think he said it was in the chat, Dolphins, and there you go.
Vikings for Dolphins.
And whoever said that Jimmy Eat World is terrible was 150% true.
Oh, really?
Oh my God.
What, like live?
They're bad, and they don't care that they're bad, and they don't want to be there. An ex of mine took me to Northern Illinois to see them and Paramore play. And Paramore just blew them out of the water. Just like,
Paramore, wow.
That band was good when there was 5 people. Now that there's 3 people, not so good.
They had a hit or two, if I think about it.
Paramore?
Yeah.
A lot of hits.
Yeah. They were a unique sounding band. I like them.
That shit can really sing.
Yeah. Tenacious D, though, I wasn't even really familiar with them as I should have been. Like, I didn't understand the cult following they had. And so we went to the
Biodome, I think, was the first movie they were ever in.
I had no
back in the
idea,
early 90s.
I'm trying to do my homework on them, and I get to the show, and I'm like, holy crap, these people are rabid for this freaking band. They're a bunch of weirdos. And they did their show, and it just was a really cool, like, fun show that they do.
I saw them at one of the Q101 summer shows, Jamboree.
Yeah.
And he came out with a giant parka on and like gloves and mittens. It's like, isn't Chicago cold? It was like 96 degrees outside. Stripped it all off. They were good.
Yeah, you don't care.
That cult following, I felt that way the first time I saw Slipknot at Ozfest. I'm like, what are all these kids walking around in these orange jumpsuits and these stupid masks? It was like,
oh,
Slipknot
yeah.
broke with
Slipknot. I know.
I saw that pit and I was like, I gotta go pretty far away from this.
It's just weird. I mean, everyone saw Tenacious D back in those early 2000s, and it's weird seeing Jack Black today. He's like hosting, like big award shows and
doing kids movies,
Emmys and Oscars, and being all serious. And like, man, I remember just always think of that day. Wishing I would have had cell phone cameras back then. Okay, so this is a case